Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another 2028 election prediction. This time we're taking a look at Vice President J.D. Vance up against billionaire Mark Cuban. So I don't think Mark Cuban would be a good candidate at all for the Democrats. I honestly think he's just too right-wing for the party to really win a primary, and he's just too right-wing to win over most of the liberals and progressives in the party. I think he'll just really hurt the Democrats with turnout, and we'll get a very right-leaning electorate, which would most likely result in a J.D. Vance victory by a pretty substantial margin. So let's just get into this. As we said, safe red and safe blue states. First of all, Texas and Florida, they're not going to be competitive at all. I think Vance will easily win these two states against Mark Cuban. Even in Iowa and Ohio, these would also be safe red states. We'll start off with the more likely blue states. So New York, I think that state would even go below 10. Same with Illinois. Same with Colorado. I think Oregon just stay barely above that 10% threshold. So the fact that he's doing that bad in those three states, it's mainly due to the Democratic enthusiasm would be lower with Mark Cuban as the nominee. He just won't turn out liberals or progressives here. So he's just too right-wing for the Democratic Party here. And he's just not going to engage these voters to really turn out. So that's why we'll see reduced margins in those states. So let's keep on moving. In Arizona, I think this would be a likely red win for J.D. Vance. Same with Nevada. I think he would also do pretty well there. Even in North Carolina, I think he would do that bad that he would lose North Carolina by 5 here. So I would go to a likely Republican margin because I just don't see him turning out black voters for the Democrats here. I just don't think he'll do that well. Plus, he's a billionaire, and I just think running a billion overall for the Democratic Party really wouldn't be a good idea. They would just be seen as the party of the elite here, and that would definitely hurt them in the general election. They want to be seen more as a populist party, one that's for the working class, and Mark Cuban's the nominee, ain't it, if you want to portray yourself that way. He wouldn't win Georgia either. I think J.D. Vance would pretty easily win that state. In the Northeast, I think you'd at least take Maine. That was a likely blue state last time, so he'd get it by a reduced margin. J.D. Vance would also take the state of New Hampshire here, getting him over 270. In these next few states, I would say he'd probably end up sweeping the Rust Belt states here. I think he'd win Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Again, Mark Cuban, he just doesn't have that populist energy here, and that populist policies that Vance would portray here. Mark Cuban would just be seen as an elite, while Vance would be seen as a populist candidate, and that would definitely result in a loss for Mark Cuban in these Rust Belt states. Plus, he's not going to turn out liberals at all. He's going to get a reduced electorate from there, so it's going to be a lot more of a Republican electorate in 2028 if Mark Cuban's the nominee. He's just not going to turn out the base at all, and I think you'd get wiped out in most of these swing states. In Nebraska second, I even think Vance would be able to get a narrow victory there. And even in New Jersey, I think Mark Cuban would be that bad of a nominee that he would even lose New Jersey. He would turn that into a red-leaning state here. So I think he would perform that badly. He would even lose that state. I do think he at least wins Virginia and at least wins New Mexico. But the real debate is whether or not he wins Minnesota. Again, Harris won it by about 4%. And I also have Vance winning New Jersey, which was a Harris +6 state. So Minnesota is definitely on the table here as a potential flip for J.D. Vance. But I think with Minnesota's long-time Democratic streak, I still think Cuban barely wins it against J.D. Vance. So Vance gets a pretty sizable electoral college victory. He gets 331 electoral votes. He almost certainly wins a popular vote by like 3 or so. So he gets a pretty sizable victory against Cuban, who would just definitely be seen as a more elitist type of candidate, while Vance would be seen as a more populist type of candidate, and that would result in a Vance victory, a pretty comfortable one at that. So I think Cuban would be one of the worst nominees the Democrats could run in the 2028 election, and they should definitely avoid nominating him. So, yeah, that's what I think would happen in a Cuban v. Vance matchup. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments below. Any other recommendations? Other than that, if you're new to this channel and you enjoy content like this, you should totally subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it a lot. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.